Detroit Lions fans, buckle up. Trade talks around Trey Hendrickson are heating up, and this isn't just another rumor. The Bengals' star edge rusher is suddenly linked to Detroit in a potential blockbuster deal that could reshape the Lions' pass rush and shake up the NFC North. This isn't about goodwill or rebuilding anymore. It's about snapping the streak, grabbing the division, and finally turning that defensive line into a weapon Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson can build a contender around. Welcome to Lions News Fan Report, your frontline update from Ford Field, where grit meets the grind and hungry fans are ready to tailgate their way back to relevance. Bookmakers at DraftKings are pegging Detroit as the third most likely destination for Hendrickson in 2025, right behind Cincinnati and Carolina, which is no small vote of confidence given the price tags and playoff stakes involved. The Lions are desperate for more juice off the edge. Aiden Hutchinson stands alone as the only Lion breaking 5 sacks this season, and with Marcus Davenport's injury history and Zadarius Smith's release, the depth opposite Hutchinson is bleak at best. The defense is a work in progress, and Hendrickson's addition could instantly level up the pressure on opposing quarterbacks. But here's the wrinkle. Cincinnati isn't giving up Hendrickson cheap. Reports say the Bengals want a young NFL-ready defensive player plus a 2026 first-round pick. That's steep, especially when you factor in the contract extension on the horizon. Hendrickson should command north of $30 million annually, and he's turning 31 this December. Still, the Lions' edge rush situation is critical. Hutchinson is a budding star, but you don't build around just one guy when the Packers and Vikings are silently gunning for the NFC North crown. Green Bay could be lurking in the Hendrickson sweepstakes too, desperate for a compliment to Rashawn Gary after Lucas Van Ness failed to show the consistent impact of a first-round pick. The Lions front office knows this. Getting Hendrickson isn't just a luxury, it's a statement. League insiders, like Jordan Schultz, have also put the Panthers and Colts on the list of interested teams. Yet Detroit's identity and needs feel a better match. This deal could signal a true shift, and fans deserve to know if this is the firepower Campbell's teams have been missing since the 0-16 slide and last year's playoff push. What does Hendrickson bring to Dan Campbell's defense beyond sack numbers? Well, he's a proven disruptor, racking double-digit sacks multiple times in recent seasons with a relentless motor and versatility to play in the run game and pass rush. He fits a defense built on aggressive pressure and tough physical play, the blueprint Campbell and Ben Johnson have been hammering at since they arrived. But integrating Hendrickson means more than just stats. It reshuffles the depth chart and could push Davenport back into a strictly rotational role, or even put pressure on younger edge defenders to prove they can stay healthy and productive. The Lions are gambling on a high-stakes move that could either vault them into playoff contention or saddle them with a ransom that limits future cap flexibility. And that's where fan nerves will be tested. Will Detroit's front office pull the trigger and bet big on veteran edge rush talent, or stick to development and cap prudence? Let's not gloss over the emotional toll here. Lions fans have suffered endless seasons of disappointment since the days of Barry Sanders' exit and Calvin Johnson's retirement. The pain of a 0-16 campaign still stings, and the surge to the playoffs last year felt like a glimpse of something greater, something closer to the Detroit grit everyone craves. This possible Hendrickson trade isn't just about football metrics, it's a message. Detroit intends to stop running scared in the NFC North, especially against arch-rivals like the Packers. It's about standing up, showing claws, and finally, playing with the edge that belongs to the blue-collar city and its relentless fans. You can already hear that Ford Field roar if Hendrickson shows up lined up next to Hutchinson. This is a tailgate conversation starter all year long. But here's the catch. Getting Hendrickson under contract isn't a one-and-done check. The UFRI. Lions have to navigate his extension, delaying or blocking other roster needs, and the possibility that injuries or age could slow down his prime impact. Detroit's cap space isn't unlimited, and pouring millions into a 31-year-old edge rusher carries risk. What if Hendrickson's best days are behind him? Or worse, what if the Bengals' asking price sidelines this deal, leaving the Lions to scramble with the players they have? That's the gamble in the Lions' den, and the pressure is higher than ever. So we're left with a burning question. As the trade window creaks open, will Detroit make this move to turbocharge the pass rush and send a message through the NFC North? Or will front office caution keep Hendrickson in Cincinnati and force Campbell to squeeze more from the current roster? It's a moment that could define the next chapter in Lions lore. One covered in the sweat of Ford Field sidelines and the roar of Honolulu Blue devotion. Hold on to your grinders, because this story is breaking on turf thick with history and stakes that only Detroit fans fully grasp. Will this be the deal that finally pushes the Lions over the hump? Or another missed chance to grab the spotlight from division foes? Sound off now. What's your call on the Hendrickson sweepstakes? Fans of grit or caution? This is Lions News Fan Report, locked in and fired up for every play to come. Detroit Lions fans, unleash that blue and silver fury. The Hendrickson saga isn't just about a player. It's about rewriting the narrative of this franchise and finally answering the call that's echoed through Ford Field for decades. As the clock ticks on this high-stakes deal, whispers suggest Detroit is willing to give Cincinnati more than just a rotting cap figure. Insiders hint that a young NFL-ready defender and a 2026 first-round pick might be the starting point. But make no mistake, Cincinnati's asking price is brutal. A steep price to pay for a 31-year-old edge rusher with over 10 sacks last season, approaching that $30 million annual salary. These aren't just numbers, they're makings of a potential game changer. Detroit's front office knows this all too well. They're teetering on the edge of new dominance or dashing their playoff hopes. Because if they can swing this deal, it's not just adding a disruptor. It's signaling to the NFC North that Detroit is no longer content to be the wildcard prey, but wants to hunt down Aaron Rodgers' legacy and Vikings' expanding roster. This move could elevate Hutchinson into a true star, push Davenport back into a role that matches his injury history, and finally give Dan Campbell that relentless edge he's preached all season. Yet that's the decision that could swing the season from promising to perilous if Hendrickson's extension stalls or if cap constraints force the Lions into tough cuts. The ripple effect here goes beyond the box score. How does this shake up locker room chemistry, especially with a defense that's been pieced together and in desperate need of an identity? And don't underestimate the NFC North's response. Green Bay could be preparing a counterpunch with Rashawn Gary showing clearer signs of returning to form, while Minnesota's front line is licking their chops at facing a potentially more loaded Detroit pass rush next season. Still, league chatter suggests that the Lions' willingness to pay up signals a shift in their worldview. No more modest rebuilding, just straight-up war. But at what cost? The emotional toll is undeniable. The ghosts of 016 lurching behind every roster move. The memory of Calvin Johnson's retirement still gnawing, and last year's playoff surge fueling hope that Detroit can finally turn the corner and challenge the upper crust. If they pull this off, it's a statement. No longer content with mediocrity, Detroit is positioning itself as an NFC North power, loud and proud, ready to cement its place with the best. But that's not without risk. An aging Hendrickson, high-dollar investments, and the potential for cap chaos threaten to derail the very future they're chasing. If he gets injured or his best days are behind him, this could backfire, leaving Detroit scrambling. And for all the talk about the Lions finally rising, the Bengals aren't blinking. This isn't a fire sale, and the longer Detroit waits, the more the NFC North's other teams lurking in the shadows could make their moves, forcing Detroit into a gamble that could define their entire season. The head-to-head matchups with Green Bay and Minnesota, the divisional grind, every play counts, every decision counts, and this could be the move that finally puts Detroit over the playoff hump or leaves them behind screaming at the draft board. The tailgate conversations are about to turn electric. Will Hendrickson's arrival be the final piece that pushes Detroit into the big leagues? Or will the front office's caution leave them with regret and another year of what-ifs? The trade clock is ticking. Detroit's future is in the balance, and this isn't just about acquiring a player. It's about making history. The question remains, are we bold enough to reel Hendrickson in and threaten NFC North dominance? Or will the league's chess game leave the Lions on the sidelines, watching others stake their claim? As a Lions fan, I've seen enough heartbreak. This is our window and we better not waste it. Either this is the shot that ends decades of suffering, or it's another false alarm. And fans, it's in your hands now. Can we finally stand tall with a defense that strikes fear into opponents? Or are we doomed to chase shadows once again? The choice is ours, and every second counts. Because if this deal happens, It could be the moment we look back on as the turning point, or the misstep that haunts Ford Field for years to come. So, Lions Nation, are you ready to raise your voices and make some noise? Because this is about more than a player. It's about Detroit finally claiming its rightful place on the gridiron. Blue pride, grit, and guts. It's up to us to decide if this is our time to roar or settle for another near miss. Get ready. The Hendrickson ride isn't over yet, and the next chapter of Lions history is waiting to be written. Are we going all in or just talking tough? The spotlight's on Ford Field, and the stakes could not be higher.